Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today we are sitting down in the Bourbon Lounge. Once again, we are hanging with Mr. Nick Hayden and Mr. Stephen J. Scott. How's it going, fellas?
Great.
And silence, cricket. Come on. You got to answer faster than that, fellas.
Like Jack and Diane, I'm doing the best that I can.
There you go.
Wow.
Are you hanging out by the Tasty Freeze? Sipping on
Maybe.
Bobby Brooks slaps. I know some of the lyrics, but my brain's a little dead right now.
Bobby Brooks was a big thing back when I was in college.
There you go. Hot dang, man.
I'm more impressed with how Steven's trying to copy my beard going on here. He's like a week out of retirement, and he's already,
It's my own things. No copycat.
I know, man. He's actually, I guess, copying me because I'm the one with more gray. I think it looks better on him than me, though.
Well, it definitely looks way better on him than me. I mean, when you go up and down the street and people throw quarters at you, no, I'm kidding.
Hey, easy way to make a buck, right?
Right.
4 of them, you get $1. So, hey, as we continue the series, as we talked on the last episode, we're looking at everyday shelfers, things you should be able to find on the good old shelves at every liquor store, things like that. Today we're going to talk a little bit about one of my personal favorites, OGD 114, and then one of them is one that people are asking about a lot. Nick even mentioned, his buddies and other people that don't get to Kentucky very often. There's one called Kentucky Parp. So while we're sipping on these and talking through them and things like that, I'm gonna let you give a little background on the Kentucky Par, and then I'll tell a little story about OGD 114 that some people may or may not know, and if they don't, great, and if they do, too bad. You're gonna have to listen to my boring story about old Granddad 114. Sound fair enough, fellas?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we're gonna dive into this Kentucky Par. Yep. Everybody get a nice little smell, and then I'm gonna give the mic to you, Nick, and you tell a little story about it while I'm smelling and tasting, and then I'll take over from there.
Yeah, so it's Kentucky Par is a 12-year, right at 100 proof. My understanding is it's a resurrected brand, so a group of investors, I think, started it about 2 or 3 years ago, and I think they were working hard. Bottle's nice. It's, nothing that's going to stand out. I think it retails for $120, which is a little bit of a hit out of the old pocketbook at most stores, but it can be found on the shelves. I've seen it a lot of places. Again, nothing too fancy about it. It's a 12-year.
So I'm going to ask you a question because I can't remember right off the top of my head. Is Kentucky Par and Old Tub the same company?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, good deal. We can always Google it later and answer it on another episode or something, but I was just kind of curious.
Old Tub is Jim Beam.
Is that what it is? Sorry, is that what it is?
Yes.
See, I think this is...
Use your mic, Scott.
I think this is, from what I've heard, I think this is Barton. 12-year Barton.
So based on the smell, I'm maybe not disagreeing with you. And the funny thing is, I've only had this a few times. It's definitely got a neat characteristic on the nose.
I think you get a lot, almost like peanuts, like on the nose. Like you get like this, like nuttiness.
I could see that. It seems reminiscent of like a low rye, because you get a little bit of that heat or peppery smell on the front side.
Yeah, and you get a little more of those, like that spice on the back of your palate, but then it just fades off really quick. And I think that was my biggest complaint when I've had this is, some of these finishes really hang on and sit in the middle of your chest, that big Kentucky hug. This one, it seems like it just you get a nose, you get this, to me, again, you get this peanutty nose, the front palate's and then you get some spices mid-palate, and then it's just drops off. But again, that's just me.
Hits your throat, and that's the end of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So the finish is very, very lackluster. It's not bad. It's just there's not a whole lot there, right? But that up front, it's very. You've got the spice. You've got a little bit of mint. I'm gonna call it. So the malt actually comes through on this pour to me. You get a little bit almost like a malt from a chocolate malted shake, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And then the black pepper is definitely there. It's very, I don't know.
You get that again on that back end of that palate, on that
So if it's Barton though, it doesn't come through as 1792 full proof or anything. I'm like, this is like very old Barton. Like
Right.
well, man, I'm all over this mic today. What is up with
Are we
that?
going to have to give you like a sobriety?
I know, for real. No, I don't know. My hands are all up in the
Maybe
place.
you're so excited.
That's it. I am actually excited. We were off for a few weeks. We recorded a bunch of episodes in advance, and we're back at it today. And we're having great conversation. And I always enjoy my time I spend with the legend and Mr. Nick. So
I like the fact that this is not fruity or floral. It's a different taste.
yeah. But I like I said, and I don't drink a lot of Barton or very old Barton. I do like a 1792 full proof, and I only drink it because it is a full proof. And I'll tell you what was it, a 12-year or a 225 you brought in a few weeks back or about a month or two ago?
225.
The 225, and that was a good pour. But most of the stuff I get from 1792 or Barton, it's just, I don't know. I don't know why, but it's more almost like, it's too earthy for me, I guess would be the best way to put it. You get like grass and I do get floral from it, but the floral I get are like weird floral, like honeysuckle or like a mulberry tree, like how that smells, in full bloom, or a cherry blossom tree, something like that. But I don't know, it's all different. I don't get any baking spice. Like, it's just, to me, it's just, the nose is just different on this than most others.
Yeah, it's. I think the big thing, my big drawback with this is probably going to be the price point. I mean, when you go out to a store and it's $115, $120, I don't know if I could justify that for this bottle.
It's easy to walk by.
Yeah, and like Scott mentioned earlier, a lot of people see it on the shelf, and they always ask because it's usually on the upper shelf or in the lock cabinet due to the price point. And you see a lot of people asking questions about it, and it's one of those: do you pull the trigger? Do you have those regrets? It's fine.
Regrets.
I mean, it's fine.
It's like a bad tattoo.
Yeah. Again, I'm not disappointed I have one on the bar for people to try, but I don't know, again, if I'd rush out there and buy another one.
So the water changes the nose. It does bring a little bit more of that spice forward, and in a good way. I get a little bit more, almost like a clove, or it's just it's hard to come off of. But yeah, it's more clovey.
Not as peppery.
Yeah, the pepper kind of, it's weird. It's almost like peppermint now, though.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you get
the pepper definitely mellows.
Yeah.
On the back end.
So this is one of the few I would say, hey, I actually prefer it with a little bit of water, just a couple of drops, because it does take away some of that bite off the front end, and it does take away that mint flavor. Because I'm not a big mint guy.
I think it gives the taste a better taste.
There's
more to it than there was neat.
Yeah, it definitely made it a little bit more complex. You get a little bit more of those sugar notes. You get a little bit like to me, it's almost like a maple syrup. Not quite caramel or vanilla, but it's more like maple syrup on the palate whenever you get the water in there. Weird. I'll tell you, it's almost like gum too, though, like chewing gum.
I mean, after you finish off your glass,
yeah.
I mean, you can smell it. Like, I don't know, like,
yeah.
I mean, we've been rinsing out our Glens after each one, and it has, I don't know, very unique.
Yeah.
There's almost more nose in the empty glass than there was in the full glass.
Yes.
Well, the water definitely changed the nose on it for sure. Like I said, it's weird. I almost get like a bubble gum, like almost like a not quite juicy fruit, but like something in that family.
I'm going to go with that, that big roll, the gum tape.
Yeah.
That's what I'm envisioning.
There you go.
Like what is it, the 6-foot-long gum
tape?
Yeah,
I know what gum by the foot.
Yes, when you'd go out to like baseball Little League games and just like throw like the entire thing in, like, hey, I need one of these. And you're supposed to take off like a little bit, and you'd like throw the entire thing in.
Yeah, it does. It's got almost like a chewing gum type, flavor to it, and then the nose too. You get almost like that sugary, like fake sugar, confectioner sugar, in there on that. That's
a nice bazooka.
Bazooka bubble gum, man. I'll tell you what, you can't go wrong with bazooka. We might be too old for Nick.
No, I know bazooka. What about a Big Chew?
Big League Chew? Yeah. So typically, it's funny, regular Big League Chew was never my cup of tea. I was a great Big League Chew guy. So whenever I try something that tastes like Big League Chew, it's usually something that's super, or it's been finished in a port or something like that.
I will say, looking at both the Kentucky Par and Old Granddad, the Kentucky Par definitely had a darker hue to it. Like it was definitely more rich in color than the old Granddad looking up in the light. So
for sure.
But I'd expect that because you got a 12-year versus
6-8 year blend.
Like a blend.
No, for sure. So we're going to dive into this OGD 114, which I'm going to let you all sniff it and smell it and all that good stuff, and we'll kind of go from there. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell a little story about it. So for people that don't know, Old Granddad 114 is actually just Basil Hayden. You know, the dude on the front picture is Basil Hayden. So if you like Basil Hayden, or even if you don't like Basil Hayden, because I'm actually not a big Basil Hayden fan, but I love OGD 114. And I don't know if it's because it's a higher proof and you're going from 80 to 114, but to me, it's definitely gives you a little bit more complexity to it. But the reason I love OGD 114 is the fact that the old school bottles, the 1980s, 1990 bottles, and if you've had any of them, they're just super sweet, super fragrant, and just have a whole lot of incredible flavor profile to them. So
it probably has the biggest cork I've seen on a bottle.
That's what she said. It really fits the big hole, right? But yeah, we actually talked about that before we jumped on mic, the fact that the cork is massive. That's the one problem I don't like about the bottle, is because I find that I almost always get floaties whenever I pour a bottle of OGD.
Isn't Basil Hayden, doesn't he have like University of Kentucky ties or something like that? I thought when Kentucky was like failing miserably during basketball, they brought up like Basil Hayden or something like that. Maybe.
Good possibility. I don't know.
We might need a fact check.
Fact check. That's Matt's job. I mean, he's supposed to be the Google guy. Him and Josh, they're my Google fact check guy. You know, I have Sprint, so I've got no shot of getting a signal anywhere. I'm sorry, Sprint, now a family member of T-Mobile. So I have the 2 worst cell phone company that I keep on here. So Steven, what's your first thoughts on this nose? Did you try a little taste yet? Where are you at on this bad boy? Then we'll get back over to Nick and me.
Well, I don't really find anything jumping out at me on the nose. It's not bad. It's just not remarkable, not noteworthy to me.
All right, Nick.
Okay.
IMHO.
I am sort of right. I did do Matt's job since he is not here. So Basil Ewing Hayden was an American college basketball player. Started off at Transylvania and then went to the University of Kentucky.
He went to Transy, huh?
That's what it says right here. The old Google.
There you go. I'll be dang. So his grandson is the one that actually made Old Granddad 114.
Yes, I think Basil was, yeah.
Yep, he was already retired, and he might have even been passed away when he made Old Granddad 114, but he took the original mash bill, which I think is like 6313, or no, it's 7313, something like that.
Which makes sense with the chemistry. I think he, again, I'll probably the fact check. I think he like was a assistant coach or something for like a couple years, and then went whatever this was. But
there you go. So for me, I actually like the nose on this one. You get a little bit of spice, but you also get the caramel, and you get a little bit of brown sugar. And it's almost like a toasted brown sugar, like a creme brulee might have, or something like that on the nose.
This one's a lot sweeter than the Kentucky Par.
For sure on the nose. I haven't dove in on the flavor. I mean, from what I remember from drinking it, all these years, it's just definitely sweeter than Kentucky Par. But I'm about to dive in here.
What about those legs, Nick?
Not as oily as the Kentucky Par. Again, it's a little. I brought this up earlier, but the coloring's a lot lighter. But again, that's to be expected when you talk about 7-year-old small batch versus a 12-year. So I'd expect that. So it's definitely a little lighter. But again, you definitely get those sweeter notes on the nose. This finish is hanging on a little more. Like it doesn't drop off. Like
well, you are jumping to 114 too.
Yeah, true.
So for me, I love this pour, and it's one of those things that I like the spice up front. I like the finish. It's got a good smooth finish. It's not super long, but it is smooth. But it really brings out those sweeter flavors with that rye bite, because it does have a rye bite to it. But it's all right at the front part of your palate, and then the mid is just nothing but sweet and smooth, and it's got just a great feel to it.
What is the price point on this? Do you know?
Oh, $28 to $30, $32. I mean, it's on the lower price point side. That's one of the other reasons why I like it, is the fact that if you
can drink a lot of it.
A, you can drink a lot of it for the price, but B, for the price, you can get there quick, right? I mean, 114 is stouter than 80 and 90 proofs in your standard bourbon. So if you really want to dive in, plus it'll hold up to water. So we'll drink it here in a second. When I add some water to it, I usually will put a full rock in there and just kind of let it sit and mellow. Put 3 or 4 fingers in there on top of the ice and go from there.
I could definitely see this on a blind flight, throwing people for a loop. Like
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, usually I personally do our early times bottle and bond blue label. But I could definitely see this one putting it on a blind flight without people knowing about it, and it probably finishing. I'd probably say the middle. I don't know if it'd finish near the top, but I bet it'd throw enough people for a loop. It'd probably be right in the middle range.
I think you might be surprised. It might finish more towards the top than you realize. And the only reason I say that is because it's got a lot of complexity to it as far as like, A, the nose is good. B, you get the clove sweetness, in that mid palate, you get a little bit of, the caramel and the vanilla, the brown sugar.
The taste is much better neat than the Kentucky Par was.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, 100% on that one.
Probably even better than when we added the water to the Kentucky Par.
I'd almost like to see this on like a true blind. Like you get the colored glens, so you don't, because if you take away the color, you take away one of the aspects where people can probably differentiate the age. So you take away that color, and again, I bet this would really throw people for a loop. Like if I put it in a decanter, and you didn't see Old Granddad, and you didn't know that was $26, and I put it in a nice decanter on the bar, I bet they would probably think it's about a $100 bottle.
No, I agree. It's definitely a solid pour. When you add water to it, though, I will say the spice comes out, and you lose a little bit of the sweetness, but the finish even opens up even more. Like you get more of that Kentucky hug, you get a little bit more complexity to the finish, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy this one. Whenever I just put a rock of ice on it, just let it sit by the fire with your buddies talking, and it really gives you that nice warm and fuzzies hug on the bottom and on the back end.
This bottle may not last long when it gets home.
Uh-oh. Steven's over there eyeing it.
I know.
You better watch it.
It's his bottle.
It's my bottle.
He can eye it all he wants.
Maybe I need to eye it. No.
So it definitely is one of these ones that I've always just really enjoyed, the OGD 114. But like I said, I've got a special place in my heart for the dusty ones when you can find them.
Yeah, not being biased at all, I'd probably go and buy 3 or 4 of those bottles versus the Kentucky Par. And that's just my take. I would rather have 3 or 4 of those on my shelf than the Kentucky Par. Now, granted, 2 different taste profiles, but when we're talking about nickels and dimes and we're getting down to the brass tacks, I mean...
Yeah, if you're going to spend $100, right, would you rather buy 3 of those or 1 of those?
Yes.
3 of those.
Yes. I'm with you 100%. That's what I'm getting at. And I think if the price point was slightly different on the Kentucky Par, I could probably get behind it a little more, but I think that's why a lot of people, that 120-ish price tag, I mean, really is a gut punch when you got some of these bottom shelfers, I guess, or just I'm just going to call them shelfers.
Yeah, shelfers. I don't want to call them bottom shelfers.
No, it's hard because you go into the liquor
it's
store.
not Kentucky Gentleman or Kentucky Tavern.
Oh yeah. Or what about what about the old Save-A-Lot? Like
yeah, absolutely. I will say though, I did get some bourbon. I don't remember what it was called, but my buddy of mine picked it up at Aldi's, and it was just some weird off-name stuff I'd never even heard of, and we were drinking it. And I was like, actually, it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some of the, was it Kirkland's? Is that the Costco brand?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had some of their stuff, and I mean, it's pretty solid. I mean, you have to buy like 5 gallons of it, but still.
They're going to be $17.92 sorts now.
Yeah.
That's what I'd read.
Starting next month, I think it comes out.
Something like that, yep. So, I don't know. So, Old Granddad 114, Kentucky Par. Price point on Kentucky Par, we've all agreed it's a little too high for what you're getting. And the Old Granddad 114, good, solid, every day. And it's towards the bottom shelf, right? Like, I mean, that price point.
That's what I was going to say. If I can remember Total Wine, I think it's like on the second shelf from the bottom on the left, from like at the Paddocks or St. Matt's or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's I'd rather have 3 of those to my one Kentucky Par, honestly. And I think I would honestly, I'd love to put that in my decanter and then pour people a pour and then have them just try to guess, because I don't think anybody would guess If I give them like 3 guesses, I don't think anyone would guess that. And I will stand by. I think that would throw people for a loop on a 3 or 4 panel blind flight, and I bet it finishes near the middle. I'd go with you, maybe near the top. I don't think it's going to be at the top, but it's going to be. It'll throw people for a loop enough that it'll be up there. They'll question, be like, "What is this?" And it'll be like, "This is a $26 bottle."
Yeah, OGD 114 is very reminiscent to me of JTS Brown Bottled and Bond in some capacity. Only JTS Bottled and Bond. Let's be honest, that's bottom shelf, but it's a good solid pour, right? At 100 proof, and maybe that's one we'll sip and go through on the show here in the next little bit. But I'll tell you, it's just this to me, it's just a good solid drinker, right? I mean, it's something a matter of fact, I mean, of the other episodes we've done so far, I think we tried, on last week or the week before, we tried Bullet and Woodford. I mean, to me, this is just as good as either one of those, and they're $40 bottles, right?
Better.
Yeah.
Better.
So,
and if you read Facebook posts and stuff, especially when people are talking about shelfers, OGD 114 always gets high praise.
Yeah,
it
does.
I've never seen it panned.
Yep. So, and we found out today that this one's not going to last long when it goes to Steven's house. I predict a chug video tonight.
Yes.
Depends on when my wife goes to bed.
Is she retired too?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now they're both retired. So now he can't sneak in there, into the bunker or outside. Are you usually outside?
I'm in the basement.
You're in the basement. I can't tell because the light's kind of weird in the background,
it's the dungeon.
The bourbon dungeon, sex dungeon. You old cat, you. All right, so Kentucky Par Grandad 114. I think we've said what we believe.
Yeah.
Both good solid pours. Go out and get them to try them. For Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can find us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those good things. You can also hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to do that. Ding the bell if you're listening to us on YouTube. Hopefully we'll get some video out a little bit more here in the near future, and we'll kind of keep going and plugging and chucking from there. But Scott, Steven, Nick signing out. Peace.